All right, let's talk about Kenny Pickett of the Philadelphia Eagles now, of course, was traded from the Steelers after it didn't work out there. And I was definitely interested in seeing how he was going to play here for Philadelphia. The overall numbers haven't been particularly good. In fact, he's in the Blaine Gabbert zone of under 5 yards per attempt here. But again, if you know me, I don't just look at box score numbers. I like to watch the film. So let's get into the film of all three games and talk about what he did well and what he did poorly. So first, starting off with a play like this is kind of what Kenny Pickett was known for in college, and I think even at his best, did a pretty good job at with the Steelers, was just running the offense, hitting the layups, right? When a guy was open, he'd hit the guy who's open. I know it doesn't sound like much, but there is still some value in that, especially when we're talking about, just where Pickett's at right now. He's trying to be a backup. He's not trying to be a starter. The play you see on the screen is one where you can see how this route could work, could get into a gap in coverage towards the top of the screen. Well, okay, let's see what happens. Pickett is going to take the snap and look in that direction. He fires in that direction, and it's a well-timed throw, right? This is right around when the receiver is going to be as open as they can get. Pickett puts this one on the money, and they're able to pick up a first down on this play. To be honest, this is a lot of what I saw from Kenny Pickett. I thought he did a pretty decent job, again, hitting the layups, doing the simple stuff. There's a lot more to football than just that, but that is a benefit. Like this play's another one where it's going to be a 3rd down and 4 situation. It's man coverage. And this is another thing I think Pickett did well in this preseason for the Philadelphia Eagles, where, again, the way the play is designed to work is you see the route on the screen Pickett's going to want to throw to. Definitely one that can work against this type of coverage. So Pickett takes a snap, he's going to run a play action, looks in that direction, and is there a ton of separation here? Not really, but the good news is that the Philadelphia player has the inside leverage, so there's a good angle for Pickett to make this throw, and that's why he's going to decide to do so. And as you see, puts it really right on the money, and they're able to pick up a first down here on the 3rd down and 4. So yeah, I mean, really good job here, I would say, by Pickett. And then there are also stuff like this, where the way this one is going to work is that it is a, first couple things to note. For one thing, you're going to see on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can kind of see the edge of a player getting interviewed. I did my best to crop it out, but I can't crop the whole thing out given the way that it's framed. They do these, on-picture interviews sometimes in the preseason, especially in the second half. Not something I'm a fan of when I'm trying to make my videos, but just in case you're wondering what that is, that's what that is. But anyway, you see the concept on the screen, and you can see how it could work, right? Those over-the-middle routes especially can often get open as there's a lot of traffic. For the Minnesota players, they're going to have a lot of communication, making sure they each cover the right guy, and when you have to communicate a lot, oftentimes that just takes extra time, which can allow for someone to get open. Here, though, when Pickett takes the snap, it doesn't really work out that way. So he's going to scramble towards the outside, doing a good job, I would say, because containment was given up on that side of the field. Still looking downfield, just doesn't love what he sees. And so because of this, he's going to just then try and scramble up and picks up 5 yards or so. I think it was about 4 yards, actually. But, I think this is something that coaches will like to see from Pickett, is that he isn't someone who too often makes many bad decisions. A lot of his turnovers usually came from the throw not being quite there, or trying to fit it through a tight window because he had to, because that was the only option kind of thing. But again, you can do stuff like this. I think part of maybe what they like about Pickett as a potential backup is that he can be someone who can do some of the stuff that Jalen Hurts can do. This one's going to be a play action. He's going to, roll out towards the top of the screen. There's several routes in that direction. But you see for Pickett when he runs this play, really the most underneath route, that's where he's looking. I got to be honest, I wonder if one of the deeper routes actually could have been open, sort of the middle depth route kind of looks open, which that's one of the negatives of Pickett, is the fact that he doesn't always see some of these things and make the more difficult throw. Sometimes he is looking for a completion. I mentioned his low yards per attempt numbers in the preseason. He did have a pretty decent completion percentage, though. He does go for the higher completion type plays. And as you see here, he, makes the throw. Hey, it works out. You got, 5 or 6 yards. That's what you're going for. Like, certainly not a bad play by Kenny Pickett by any means. More of just this is his play style. This is what he does. And he can make throws off balance. So when I brought up the play of like, well, he can kind of do the stuff Hurts can do, that is, part of what he can do. Although, to be clear, he is definitely no Jalen Hurts. Because, like, going over here, I think my biggest issue I saw from Kenny Pickett was how often these plays just didn't hit. Like, this one's a zone coverage play, cover 3 zone. You see a receiver running a deep shot right here. So, again, okay, can see how this could work. Pickett takes the snap, he says, oh, hey, one-on-one matchup on the outside. Let me throw it in that direction, and it's a good decision. I mean, you see how open this wide receiver is. So this could be, I don't know, could this be a touchdown? It could at least be a decent gain. But instead, this throw is just off. And again, it was kind of weird. It almost looked like the receiver maybe could have like laid out for it. Weird play. But the reality is, most of these weren't hitting. Like the high degree of difficulty plays were like operating at basically 0% in the preseason, which is definitely his biggest downside. So what do we take away from all of this? What does all of this mean? Well, first, let me just give my evaluation of kind of a recap of how I thought Kenny Pickett played. He played okay. He ran the offense relatively well, was not really giving you much more other than that, and wasn't really hitting the high degree of difficulty plays, but also, he is someone you can win games with. I mean, the Steelers did win some games with him. They weren't great with him, but they weren't dumpster fire either with him, although they ultimately went with Mason Rudolph, so it's not like they were like, it's not like they were doing great with him, right? Obviously. But my point is that he has a specific skill set that he is good at, the easy kind of underneath stuff, that makes me feel like he's going to be a backup in this league for a while. But with the lack of giving you too much else, I think you see why he wasn't able to make it work as a starter. I'm going to give him like a 5 out of 10 for his preseason performance. Like I said, it wasn't bad. He just didn't give you a lot else. You could argue maybe like a 4. I don't know. A 5 out of 10 just for the performance feels fair. But I definitely don't think that he is, he's not coming for Jalen Hurts' job anytime soon. That was obviously never going to happen. But I also just in general think that he's, a backup feels right. And this is why he was kind of, a big part of why most people didn't have him as a first round pick. And the people who did, like, I think I remember I had him as like my 32nd ranked prospect of that draft class. So like just barely a first round pick. There still are some positives, and you still do see the positives. He's a very competent player. He's not going to like do too many things that are stupid, but which again, for backup quarterbacks, getting that is good, and getting a couple cheap years of that for the Eagles, that's not a bad situation. But if the Eagles were getting him in hopes that if Jalen Hurts goes down for a season, Pickett can rule things and be a good starter for a while, I just don't know if I see that happening. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Kenny Pickett and what he brought to the Eagles in this preseason. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.